Hello and welcome to the Dead Air Dudes. I'm Izzy.
I'm Raka. You are Dead at Dudes Nation. Thank you for coming back to us. And as we deep dive into what is near and dear to our hearts
Deep, deep,
in
deep
our continuing
dive.
series of the comic book world and all things artistic like that. So, in our first installment, Izzy had interviewed me about my viewpoints of comic books, predilections, likes, dislikes, favorites, and whatnot. And we're going to return to favorite today.
We gave him the top
And,
six Dead Air Dudes questions.
and I will now put him on the hot seat. Some say he likes it hot. So, Izzy, without further ado, let's jump right into it. You are, by many accounts of everyone who knows you, a comic book fan. Always has been. Some circles have you reading comic books before actual books.
Some would say that my first love is comic books.
So let's go with that. And while we're talking about that, jump into your favorite artists, heroes, comic book lines. What got you started it? Go for it.
All right, what got me started basically, my dad used to be a truck driver and he would go from place to place. And at that time, 7-Elevens and grocery stores with the spinner racks had comics. So he would bring me comic books home, and I would devour them in an instant. Now, back then, obviously, being a kid or whatever, I did not know that the when a comic when the next issue came out, they were monthly, whatever, and I thought they all came out at the same time on the same time of the month. Meaning, damn, I gotta wait the rest of the month to get other books. Obviously, as you grow up, you figure out that no, everything is staggered. But that's besides the point. So yeah, that basically got me that. As a kid, I also drew a lot, and I learned, drawing comics. And it was like I said, my first love. I was, my imaginary friends were comic characters, and it was good stuff. Good stuff.
Well, that's profound introspection there. I mean, you're talking about just also a connection with your dad in that he would be away, he would doing his long trips, and then you're anticipating not just him coming home with a toy, a comic book. Um, and then you got that with him. So that bond is also childhood driven. Now, do you recall what the first comic books were, or did he just randomly pick out a few to
No,
bring?
randomly picked out, but I remember for some reason one book in particular that always hits me is Uncanny X-Men. I think 175, which at that time I think it was the anniversary issue, where I do believe at that point Madeline Pryor had just turned on the X-Men and attacked the X-Men, and was I guess acting like Dark Phoenix, but she was under the control of Mastermind. So yeah, and the cover is one of the more iconic, at least in my mind, where you have what seems to be Dark Phoenix attacking the X-Men, and done beautifully by Paul Smith. And yeah, if you guys obviously when I edit the video, I'll put a big picture of the comic, so you guys can actually see what the heck I'm talking about. So yeah.
I assume it goes without saying that you have this comic book in a particular vacuum sealed bag in a particular special place.
No, I actually have a couple copies of it. One that I actually reacquired my comics after years of losing them. I actually went back and bought just every comic that I owned when I was younger.
Wow, I actually did a similar thing with toy collectors. So you're a child, you love toys, you play with them, you beat the hell out of them.
Yep.
And you get older and you do come into making your own bread, having your own money. You're like, you know what? I really love that. I'm gonna go back and get that comic book. I'm gonna go back and get it. And some of these things are priced way, way high, and you wonder, shoot, if I had foresight to keep them in better condition. But you're a kid. You know what? Screw that. Scratch that. You're enjoying
being a kid. That's it. I mean, and if it meant that at that time you were so anal, and I mean it in the best way possible, that you did not mangle your toys and you kept them in perfect and great condition, as well as the books. Even I kept my books; they were well read, well loved, but they were still intact and in VG, probably fine to VG condition. But as a kid, you write and you say, "Oh, my your initials on the books. It's my book." So, you know,
well, I mean, here's the thing too. Now,
the the CGC would have knocked a couple points off that, grading.
yes, and I get that. I mean, there's the serious collector, and then there's people who have a personal collection, which they could care less. They can spray paint it with their name on it. It doesn't matter. They're never selling it. They're never. They might hand it down later in life to somebody who means something to them for some reason, but it's personal. It's yours. It's like you have your own house. I'll paint it every damn color I want because it's my house. With that said, I know, and many people who do know you know that today you are way more of a serious, avid comic book aficionado and collector than I am. You're up there. You're very well versed. You go to a store frequently. This is a tough question to ask you more than it was an easier question to ask me. Who do you like? Who's your top ones? Who do you continue to collect, and why?
Like, what we mean, a current title you talking about, like a current book, or
All of the above. Current book, maybe your all-time. I mean, go with which way you want with
all
this.
time obviously is Uncanny X-Men or X-Men in general. The classic Cockrum and Claremont John Byrne run of the I guess late 70s, early 80s was classic. And then you also have the Claremont run that actually, if I'm not mistaken, is the longest run in the history of comics at about 17 years, I think he wrote X-Men. So,
Wow.
which is pretty damn good. I mean, he still is the all-knowing, and created so many. He was involved in creating so many integral characters, or taking them from their humble beginnings and turning them into what we see now on the big screen. You know, and a current book that I'm collecting right now. To be honest, I've gone down or calmed down on the major titles, and as far as your DC and Marvel, I'm getting really into the indies now. I guess because, like I mentioned with you, how in your interview, how what made me love Marvel and DC to a lesser extent is the fact that every story is continued. There is a bigger picture within the framework of the universe that they're creating. If the Hulk is fighting the Avengers in Central Park, if it's a big enough fight, you know that upstate, the X-Men will find out about that. And they might come in and help. Or Spider-Man might be freaking just hears freaking something going on and he'll show up. Or the Fantastic Four is freaking blocks away in the Baxter building. Of course, we're going back in time, but yeah. And conversely, the bad thing about it, I mean, in a way, been bad in a way, is that we've been so desensitized in media, and that if no one dies and nothing bad happens, then it's not a good story. So, like I mentioned before, Batman will probably never be killed. And if he is, he won't stay down for long, as he did in Batman R.I.P. Same thing with Captain America. Had to come back after he was gone. There's only, unfortunately, if you can, two characters in the Marvel Universe who died and stayed dead. Captain Marvel, who died of cancer, in the seminal classic, The Death of Captain Marvel, and Uncle Ben. Even Jean Grey, who people can make fun of all the time, that she's died and came back to life, i.e., Phoenix, like 4 or 5 times. Even she, had a dirt nap of about 7 years the last time. So, and hey, even my favorite character of all time, Colossus, also died for a number of years until he was resurrected. In Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men.
So with
Yeah,
that said,
the indies, you're not stuck by those rules. Anything can and will happen at any time. The stories doesn't have to end at 300 issues. It can be a 4-issue limited series. It could be 12 issues. It could be, hey, it could be The Walking Dead. All of a sudden, you know what? Spoiler alert, we're going to freaking go and kill off the main character, off screen while he's sleeping. And then, boom. Oh, I think issue 193. Oh, by the way, we're done. And you're like, what happened?
what go with that? Let's say you're perusing through a store. You do have your classics, your DC or Marvel. You have Image with their line of stuff, which is now pretty much of a foothold. And then you have a lot more independent ones because of the way the world is now. What do you look for? What catches your eye? What are some criteria that you can judge whether I'm going to purchase this or not? This is a good comic book or not. I see a future with this thing, or polite pass.
Right. You have some collectors that they are specking, or they're speculators. They're in the speculator market, and with the goal, they'll buy books that they perceive that will go up in value. Now, get ready, guys and gals.
Cool.
That bubble will burst. It burst in the 90s. It will burst. So if you're gonna make any money, make it now before it blows up.
Ooh, right? Financial advice.
That being said, in the past, I look for great covers. Artwork would pop out at me. Now I try to research and look what's coming out. And if the story attracts me and I'm interested, and obviously, I don't know if you guys know, if you're fans of the channel, you know that we love horror. And things with a horror slant will always pique my attention a hell of a lot more than things that don't, capes, for instance, or some historical drama, for example. Like right now, probably my favorite book right now is Something's Kin to Children from Boom Studios. If you haven't picked it up, pick it up. Books they're going crazy. For the speculator market, it's about to be made into a TV show, and a limited series, supposedly 5 issues, has turned into a full-fledged series, 18 issues so far. So,
yeah. All right, so you've run the gamut from the 70s to present day. Given that and your appreciation and complete love of the comic book world and graphic novels and books, where do you see the future of comic books, present and now, and near future? It is the digital age.
Well, there's no secret that Disney, if they had their druthers and you put a bullet to their head and say, what do you really think about comic books? They would say, you know what? If we could eliminate comic books altogether, in print in particular, we would do so. But the pantheon of characters that they have wouldn't allow that. But the publishing side, they don't care about. They don't care about it. I mean, they do what they gotta do, but if it doesn't sell within 4 or 5 months, they will continue. They won't finish the story. They'll end it, and that's it. There's certain characters that have had 6, 7, 10, 12, 15 different volumes. We're having a She-Hulk TV show coming out by the end of the year on Disney Plus. She's had probably 7 or 8 versions of her series.
Yes.
And for some reason, a character who is
cousin Bruce Banner
cannot maintain a series because nobody cares.
Nobody cares, but it's also in part some poor writing.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
I mean, we've gone back and forth, and although we have slight differences, we totally agree, and most comic book fans out there agree. Artwork,
Yeah.
then captivating storyline.
Yeah.
captivating character arcs.
One last thing before I forget, like you were saying, what's the future? The future is basically that comics will never go away because the stories are there, the characters are there. But I think that they're going to try their best to push into a digital medium as much as possible. Comixology is owned by Amazon right now. Marvel Unlimited has a good deal, and they have almost every Marvel comic they have, and they put it out like almost immediately. So I'm not saying to go get those, but I'm having an issue with space. You can't really see now, but I have about 10 long boxes, and you figure each long box has anywhere from 3 to 350. Plus, I have another 6 long boxes in my sister's house in Florida. So you're
No,
talking about
guys,
an
he
excess.
has a sub basement.
You're talking about an excess of probably 9,000 comics, and that's nothing compared to other people who really do. And I'm thinking, about, geez, unless if it's something that I'm speculating on, maybe I should just go into digital media and read to my heart's content.
Yes, I mean to echo your sentiment, as a independent published author of a comic book line myself, I opted to publish on Comixology because of economics.
What's the name of the comic?
The Nothing Man Saga plays on the end of the world, zombie-like virus, and the progenitor of the future, a person who actually melded with the zombie virus and survives. And he is the new Adam. On Comixology, shameless plug. But
And
again,
visit
economics.com
for if you actually want physical copies.
Yes, get to our website and everything is there. The accessibility and the economics of it all, because I have perused through Comixology and I've looked through whole annals. I mean, books that normally would probably cost me in excess of $100, I was able for like $1.99 read the entire thing.
Yeah.
And it's on my phone. And if you want and appreciate the bigger picture, you get it on your big iPad, your big flat screen. You can cast it onto your TV, and you can almost be dazzled now with the sharpness of images. So I get it. I'm not going to fight progress, quote unquote. But being old school that you and I both are too, I can appreciate the actual work in my hand.
It's one thing, and I'm going to try to quote it. It's not the exact quote, but you're going to get the idea. The late, great Stan Lee said, comics will never go out of style. Everybody wants to touch a comic like they want to touch titties. Not me. Stan Lee said this. Okay?
And there you have it, guys. That is brought to you by the Dead Air Boobs, the subsidiary of the Dead Air Dudes. And it's two guys talking about male boobs. Okay, so just to be clear.
Yes. And there's ample here to touch. So that being said, we are going to be this weekend at Terrificon at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. So if you guys are there, check us out. We'll be walking around, interviewing, having a good time, giving out free swag, and if
you subscribe to our channel,
lots of video.
You subscribe to our channel, send us a screenshot, and you're automatically entered, because tomorrow and tomorrow only, we have a ticket waiting for a lucky winner, a lucky subscriber. Do it now.
Do it now. Hey.
All right. Thanks, Izzy, for your comments, thoughts, and perspective on all things comic books. Again, as we hope to meet a lot of fans and a lot of common interest folk tomorrow at Mohegan Sun. Be well, save the whales, enjoy your comic books.
Take care, guys.